Hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. I'm going to be getting started shortly. I'm just going to give everyone 20 seconds to join. Okay, I'm going to kick off. Hi everyone, welcome to today's ChatGPT 102 webinar, Leveraging AI to Do Your Best Work. My name is Lois and I am your host today. This session is a follow-on from 101, where we discussed how you can use ChatGPT as an assistant to help you with everyday tasks. In today's session, I want to take that one step further, and I want to teach you how you can use ChatGPT more consistently over time to get repeatable outcomes against regular tasks and projects. So rather than just engaging in a single chat and providing a single prompt and using a range of different multimodal capabilities like we discussed this week, last week, sorry. This week, we're going to be really delving into projects and GPTs. Those are the two capabilities you should be leveraging if you are using ChatGPT for a task that you do consistently. Okay, so the learning objectives today are an overview of ChatGPT projects and some useful examples, GPTs, what they are, how to use one, but more specifically, how to build one. And then finally, we're going to wrap up by taking a look at O1 and how O1 can write the GPT instructions for you. Same as 101, I'm joined by several of my OpenAI colleagues who will be moderating and answering your questions from the Q&A feature, which is to the right of your screen. And as with all of our webinars, you will be sent a recording tomorrow. Quick note before I start sharing my screen and showing ChatGPT, and this is really important. Some of my demos might not match your specific role or industry. But as we move through the session today, I really want to encourage you to think about my examples and then potentially how you can apply this to your specific scenario. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing my screen. We're going to jump into ChatGPT and we are going to take a look at projects. Okay, so in the interface, as we discussed in 101, the first thing you're greeted with is the chat window. And this is how you engage in a conversation with ChatGPT. But if we come over to the left, you'll notice that there is now a section called projects, and this sits above your chat history. Personally, I love projects. I think it's one of my favorite releases of kind of 2024. Projects are designed to help you organize your work, maintain context, and streamline those repeatable activities or those repeatable chats that you do over and over again. And it organizes and aggregates all of that information into a single workspace. So here's how it works. I'm going to click on one of these projects as an example. This is a project that I created for myself. I do a lot of strategy writing, demo writing, script writing to help me prepare for sessions like this. And again, this is work that I do over and over again. So before projects existed, I would just have a ton of chats in the left-hand side, and I would just go back to that chat every time I wanted to discuss something associated to a specific topic. Now I can actually create a project. So this is what a project looks like. Projects allows you to group chats, files, and create custom instructions in one place. And so this makes it easier to manage and maintain context for specific tasks. This week, I want you to think about the projects, programs, and initiatives that you are all currently working on. And I want you to go away this week and actually create a project for yourself. You can see on the left-hand side, you might be working on some financial planning, you're doing campaign analysis, maybe you're planning a team offsite, you might be doing some kind of reporting. Any activity like that that you do every day is perfect and prime for you to create a project. Now, before I start moving things around and showing you how to create one, I do want to stress that projects are different from GPTs. Projects allow you to organize your workspace and are really helpful for individuals. You can see here that this project is specific to me and the work that I do. GPTs, on the other hand, are typically created for a specific repeatable task, and they can be shared across teams and entire divisions. And they allow you to automate, again, specific tasks. Projects, very much about organization and individual management within your ChatGPT environment. Let's talk at a high level about the specific features within projects. The first is organizing your work. What we can see on the left-hand side is a series of chats. These are chats that I have initiated with ChatGPT to help me with my work. You can see that I've had a conversation about my education strategy in 2025. I have an example here for script writing, so I get support when I'm writing my demos. And I also have an advanced webinar strategy up here. What I can actually do is I can drag and drop these conversations into the project. And what you'll notice there is that all of the chats start to get stored underneath this project. We'll just drag and drop all of those in. Now, what's great is that for all of these chats, I can now then apply all of these files that I have also attached, and the context of the file then applies to all of the chats within a project. This is incredibly helpful. It means that I don't have to upload files per chat. I can upload files per project. And then when I click into these individual chats, they already have access to those core files. You can see there that when I clicked on that chat, all of the chats within that project were then expanded into view. What is happening here when I upload these files is this is ensuring that ChatGPT is collecting context for the project. In this specific example, I've uploaded reports, documentation, scripts, content strategy documents, and even data files. And so this is a really great way to store files associated to a specific topic. Within projects, you also have the ability to set custom instructions. Custom instructions allow you to define how the project should operate. Specifically, you can guide ChatGPT on how to act as a content strategy and demo writing project manager, for example. And this project and these custom instructions are focused on planning, content creation, promotion, and post-event follow-up. I've provided really clear guidance to ensure that every chat that sits within the project also has access to these instructions. If I click on these instructions, let's walk through this. You can see here that I'm telling the project to essentially act as a project manager for content strategy and demo writing, focusing on planning, content creation, promotion, and post-event follow-up. Keep a professional yet approachable tone and provide clear step-by-step guidance and reference any relevant uploaded files to maintain consistency. Always confirm alignment with project goals and resources and ensure confidentiality of all sensitive data. Be prepared to adapt recommendations as new information arrives. And then I have some core steps or guidance for the project to follow. Custom instructions are essentially a master prompt. That is probably the most simple way I can explain custom instructions, but this is a really great prerequisite because I'm going to be talking about custom instructions and how you write something similar to actually program a GPT. So we're going to come across custom instructions quite a lot today. And in the prompt sheet that you will find within the webinar platform near the Q&A feature, I've actually included these instructions for you so that you can download that document, copy and paste those instructions, and then go away and create your own. Okay, just lastly within projects, there are a couple of things that you can do. You can leverage specific tools. So I can use Canvas for collaborative writing and brainstorming, and you can locate Canvas by clicking on Tools and then coming down to Canvas. And I can utilize the search feature as well within projects. That's going to allow me to access information in real time from the web and allow me to explore these topics in more detail. If I want to actually create a new project, I come over to the left-hand side. I click on the new project icon, and you'll notice here that I am given a name. So I'm just going to call this project test. And when I click create, that should take me to a new project. So let's just give it a second. There it is. And you can see that we are now ready to actually drag and drop these chats. We're able to upload files, add the instructions, and we also as well have the ability to edit the name and edit certain features about this new project. So super easy for you to get started. And again, to reiterate, projects are really the perfect way to organize your chats, upload files that relate to those chats, and to ensure that all of the chats have access to shared context. Okay, so moving on now from projects to GPTs. You will notice here on the left-hand side that I have pinned my favorite GPTs to my sidebar. GPTs can be thought of as customized assistants for handling specific repeatable tasks. You can see here that I have my professional writing coach. This is a GPT that was created by one of my colleagues, and this GPT has been designed or programmed to ensure that every time a user uploads a piece of writing, the GPT will give coaching and guidance to improve that piece of writing. These GPTs are powered with custom instructions, so similar to what I just showed you in projects. You can upload documents into your GPT so that it has access to knowledge. And you can also build an action. So a custom action allows you to connect your GPT into third-party systems or databases. And that is going to ensure that your GPT can then be connected outside of ChatGPT. Let me just pause and give you a few examples for GPTs maybe that are more specific to you. So for sales, you could create a GPT that crafts compelling pitches so that every time you come to the GPT, it gives you a pitch in a similar style. For engineering, you could create a GPT to assist you in debugging code. For finance, a GPT could help you standardize the analysis of specific financial documents. And for product, you could create a GPT to help you develop detailed product roadmaps and timelines. And for marketing, you could create a brand tone of voice GPT to ensure that every piece of writing you ever do aligns to your brand and your brand's tone of voice. So GPTs are incredibly versatile, and I really want to talk through them in detail today to help you feel inspired. The first thing I'm going to touch on is the GPT store. Very similar to an app store. It's really the place that you can explore GPTs that have been created by others. Really important, similar to all things that I demo in ChatGPT, your screen and your GPT store may look different to mine. And it will depend on the access level your organization has provisioned as to the features, capabilities, GPTs that you yourself can see. If any of you have any concerns about what you have access to, I strongly recommend that you reach out to your ChatGPT or IT admin. Okay, so once you are in the GPT store, to search for a GPT, I can either enter the name of the GPT into the search bar, or I can also select from the categories. So you can see here that professional writing coach comes up, as that was the GPT I used. I can search by name, or if I come out of this view, I can click on a specific topic like writing, productivity, research analysis, and that is going to allow me to select a GPT that I can go ahead and use. Okay, let's just grab one for example. So let's use this web browser. When I click on it, it is going to allow you to start a chat. And then when I click on the three dots as well, this is how you pin a GPT to your sidebar. So I get asked this all the time. How do I pin a GPT to the sidebar? Quick hack for you in ChatGPT, wherever you see three dots, that is going to give you options to do something with that capability. So if we keep that to the sidebar and start a chat, what you'll notice is the web browser is now pinned to the left-hand side. And then you are really free to engage in a conversation with this GPT for a specific task. Okay, so we're actually going to engage with a GPT that has already been built for us. So what I am going to do is I am going to upload a blog post into the professional writing coach, and I'm going to ask for some feedback. So can you provide feedback on the following blog post? Make sure that the information is clear, concise, and professional. I'm then going to grab this blog post. And just for demo purposes, and so you are aware, this blog post is not very well written. It has some grammatical errors on purpose. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I want to show you how the GPT responds when the writing needs to be improved. Let's paste this poorly worded blog post underneath the prompt, and let's see what ChatGPT does. So you can see that this GPT is designed to respond with the strengths of the writing. So what's really good about the blog, but will then give you some areas for improvement. And it's been designed to do this every single time in exactly the same way. So you can see that this GPT is really good for getting that repeatable outcome. The repeatable outcome being that every time I do a written piece of work at work, it is well spelt. I've had some coaching. It maybe aligns to a specific guideline. And what we can see here is we've got some areas of improvement. So we've got some grammar, sentence clarity and flow. And what's really great is you can then ask this GPT to rewrite a version. So can you take these improvement suggestions and create a new version? Perfect. And you will see there that ChatGPT has automatically triggered Canvas. In 101, we discussed Canvas being the perfect capability to help you with writing. And so this GPT has automatically launched Canvas, and I'm now able to co-collaborate with ChatGPT on this piece of writing. So you can see how lots of the ChatGPT capabilities are starting to link. I was in a GPT there, but now Canvas has launched. And this way of working is going to ensure that writing tasks, for example, are really great every single time. Okay, so that's a quick overview of engaging with a GPT that already exists. But now I want to really show you how to build one. So a couple of things to do this week. Of course, I want you to go out and I want you to create a project. Second thing I want you to do is I want you to ask around. I want you to find out if any of your colleagues have already created a GPT. If they have, I want you to maybe access that GPT if it's relevant to you and try and engage with it. But I would also love for you to try and create a GPT. So let me now show you how you can build one. Coming out of that view there, we're going to go to Explore GPTs. And when you're in the GPT store, you will see the button here that says Create. Now, creating one is really easy and no coding is required. You do not need to be technical to create a GPT. In fact, I do not have a technical background and I have about 10 GPTs now in my other account, and they have been designed to help me with all of the repeatable activities I do in any given week. So between chats, projects, and GPTs, I've saved hours of admin work, proofreading, analysis, all of those things that take a lot of effort, I've managed to streamline in ChatGPT. Okay, so to create one, I click on the black Create button in the top right corner. When you do that, you are then taken to this page, and this page shows Create and Configure. You're instantly dropped into Configure, and I personally prefer the Configure tab because this is where I can specify very specific things about the GPT configuration. However, if you're not feeling confident about filling out the configuration tab directly, you can jump over to the Create tab and actually have a conversation. So the GPT builder will ask you a series of questions. You will respond to these questions, and the GPT builder will pre-populate the configure tab for you. So you're going to get asked, what is the nature of your task? What do you want the GPT to do? What kind of information can you tell me about the task in hand? And so this is a really great way to kick off if you've never built a GPT before. But because this is a 102 session, I really want to teach you how to configure a GPT directly. Coming back over into the configuration tab. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to build a GPT that helps me prepare for all external meetings. So let's imagine I'm running meetings internationally and I need to be really well prepared for these meetings. That type of activity happens a lot in certain roles, and preparing for those meetings can take a lot of time. So we are going to create a meeting mate GPT. And this GPT is going to be really perfect for anyone preparing for any type of meeting, even if it is internal. And again, you will find the GPT configuration in that same document in the webinar. So if you're interested to copy and paste the configuration, please do that. You can tweak it to fit your specific use case. First things first, I'm going to give the GPT a name. So this is really important. We're going to call the GPT Meeting Mate. And you will notice that every time I populate the left-hand side, the right-hand preview window will also start to build out. And the preview window is where eventually you can actually test how good the GPT is. Okay, description. Description is really important. The description is what a user sees when they engage in a conversation with the GPT. So please do not underestimate the importance of really well written, clear and concise descriptions. For this GPT, I want users to know that it helps them with preparing for external meetings. So let's add that in. And then you'll see again that the right-hand side has been populated. And what I'm saying here is Meeting Mate helps you prepare for external meetings by offering agendas, attendee insights, communication tips, and cultural etiquette advice. Okay, now what I need to do is add the instructions. Top tip from me. Instructions is the most important part of a GPT. In fact, 9 times out of 10, when I'm helping a customer or user troubleshoot their GPT, the issue is with the instructions. So what I'm going to do now in a methodical way is take you through a set of instructions step by step and how I created them. And remember, at the end of today's session, I'm going to show you how you can actually write the instructions using O1. Very similar to what I showed you with projects. Custom instructions can be thought of as the master prompt. These are the instructions that the GPT will leverage every time it is asked to do something by a user. Great. Okay. What I'm going to do first is add in a section called Overview. So this is really the first part of writing great instructions. You actually need to tell the GPT who it is, what it does, what the purpose is. It's kind of like the description, but for the GPT. And so here we are saying you are a meeting mate, an AI assistant that helps users prepare for external meetings by offering, and again, we've got the same elements that we added to the description. Now what we're going to do is we are going to add in the instructions portion step by step. So I think in 101, I mentioned that, or I encouraged you to talk to ChatGPT like it was a human. So like it is a colleague that you're getting to help you do a task or help you complete something. Think of the GPT instructions in exactly the same way, but there's a slight twist. So when you're writing GPT instructions, imagine that you are going on holiday and you need your colleague to do a task while you're away. What information, what steps, what documents, what instructions would you need to give to your colleague to help them do that task? That is exactly what we're doing here. We're really spelling it out for the GPT step by step. We're treating the GPT like a colleague. This colleague is going to help us whilst we're not in the office. And for me, anyway, when I heard that analogy, I found that to be really helpful. And now every time that I write GPT instructions, I always make sure, do I have those elements? Can the GPT do this without me being here? So first things first, we're going to add in an instruction setting, an instruction title, sorry. And here we're saying start by greeting. So the first thing we want the GPT to do is actually greet the user when it comes to the GPT. And we want the GPT to say to the user, how can I assist you in preparing for a meeting? Then what we're going to do is add in the next step, which is number 2. We want the GPT to ask the user for key details. So we want objectives, participants, date and time, location, type. We almost want the GPT to tease this out from the user to help with the research portion of this task. Then we're going to add in step 3. And you can see here that there is a specific format that I'm using. You'll see that the titles here have asterisks, and then we've got the bullet points, and we're also adding in things like delimiters as well and dashes. The way that I've formatted this is a specific way of formatting called Markdown. Now, don't worry too much if you don't know what that is. It's purely a formatting language. And that is why I want to show you O1, because O1 can actually do this formatting for you. So don't panic too much. I'm going to take you through best practices in a second. But I did just want to call out, in case you've noticed, that there is a specific way that I am formatting this. So number three, what we're doing here is telling the GPT that at step three, provide tailored assistance by leveraging documentation in your knowledge. The knowledge section I'll get to in a second, but the knowledge is where the GPT is referencing specific files that you have uploaded. Moving on to the final portion here, we're going to add in some guidelines. So we've got some step-by-step instructions. This really directs the GPT what it should do when. And then we're going to add in some guidelines. So the guidelines are really additional guardrails for the GPT to make sure that it does certain things in certain scenarios. So let me paste these in and talk through them. So guidelines. Number one, tone, friendly and professional. Number two, accuracy and clarity. Ensure responses are accurate based on the internal knowledge and communicated clearly to be understood. Number three, limitations acknowledgement. This is important. If a query falls outside your accessible knowledge base or requires human judgment, direct the user to reach out to a line manager. So you're seeing there that we're directing the GPT to what it should do in a scenario when it doesn't know how to answer a question. So just to recap here, we're creating a GPT that helps a user prepare for an external meeting. We're giving the GPT step-by-step instructions to tell the GPT what it should do and the series of events it should follow. We have created the instructions and formatted it in Markdown. Now, the reason we've done that is because the model kind of underneath is it really likes Markdown. It follows Markdown really well. And so there is a higher chance that the GPT follows your instructions correctly. Instructions, again, step by step. We're thinking about how we would communicate to a colleague if we were to go away for a week and they needed to do a task. We've got step by step. So ask for key details, provide tailored assistance, and then we've wrapped up these instructions by adding some guidelines. And to reiterate, the guidelines are additional parameters that the GPT should follow to help it with things like tone, accuracy, and what it should do in the instance that it can't answer a question. Okay, so now that we have our instructions and we're happy with those, we're going to move on to conversation starters. Conversation starters, again, the same as the description, are so helpful if you are planning on sharing your GPT with your colleagues. Conversation starters can be thought of as preloaded prompts. They are the square boxes that you would have seen in the professional writing coach. A user can click on one of those conversation starters to start to understand how to use the GPT. I can say from my own personal experience, when I go to a GPT and there are no conversation starters and there's no description, I don't know how to use it and therefore I don't use it. And so I really want to encourage you, best practice here is being really thoughtful about the description and your conversation starters. Okay, in this conversation starter, I'm going to give you a quick example here, very simple. But what I'm saying here is help me prepare for an upcoming virtual meeting with a new client based in Japan. We could create another one that is just help me prepare for an external meeting where the client has specifically asked for. Whatever it is, the conversation starter will then appear as a box which the user can click on when they interact with the GPT. Okay, coming down to the knowledge. Knowledge is really, really important. Knowledge is going to allow you to upload files into the GPT, and the GPT will reference those files when a user asks a question. So let's upload a file. What we're going to do here is we are going to add in our travel policy. We're going to upload a guide around navigating meetings in other cultures. We're going to upload our remote working policy. I just received an error there on the last document, so let's try that other one again. We're just going to add in the corporate travel guide. And then we're going to add in that last document here around creating effective agendas. So just to recap, the documents here, they might be policies, guidelines. You can see that all of these documents have been provided to me by HR, and they dictate how we should be operating in a meeting. So these are perfect to sit within the knowledge. You can see that by uploading these documents, we're making Meeting Mate an expert in all of our meeting and travel policies. And so this is going to ensure that the information I get back from the GPT is specific to me, my role, and the business. Okay, now that we've got the knowledge uploaded, I want to talk briefly about capabilities. So you can see here that you can toggle capabilities on and off. Capabilities are essentially a way to turbocharge the GPT with specific ChatGPT capabilities. So you can see there that we can actually turn on Canvas. So if we were creating a GPT for marketing, for example, and we were creating a brand tone of voice GPT, we could toggle on Canvas, because that means that every time we engage with that GPT and we are doing a piece of writing, that Canvas interface that I showed you earlier will open. So you can see that you can actually start to connect GPTs to specific capabilities. In this example, I don't necessarily need Canvas, but I do need web search. For example, if I am researching a specific customer, I would like the GPT to go out to the web. And the other thing that I'm going to turn on is DALL-E image generation. And that is so that I can create a profile picture. Now, again, the profile picture is really important because that is the icon that you see in your sidebar that shows you which GPT it is. So we'll let that generate for a second. I think the other thing to mention is code interpreter and data analysis. This one, super, super important. So first of all, you will want to turn this on if you want your GPT to do analysis. If you have specific data files, Excel, CSV, and you want the GPT to help you with analysis, you will need this turned on. You will also need this turned on if you want the GPT to create downloadable links or documents for you. So if you wanted the GPT to generate its response as a downloadable PDF, then you need to have Code Interpreter turned on. So if you think you are going to be asking for files, running analysis, this one is incredibly important. Okay. So coming back up, you would notice here that I have an icon now. This is the Meeting Mate icon. That's going to help me find it later on. Okay, last thing I want to talk about is actions. Okay, so actions is a way to connect your GPT into external systems and databases. So similar to the knowledge, it is going to allow you to connect somewhere to ensure that your GPT can do something in an environment external to ChatGPT. So an example would be if you were creating a Jira GPT that helps you push things into a Jira backlog, you could connect to the Atlassian API and you could make a push-pull request to push that information across. So that is what an action is. For whatever reason today, when I am clicking on this, it won't open. No problem. We weren't going to configure an action today. Essentially, when you click on that button, it takes you into a new interface and it will allow you to select an API or OAuth to allow you to connect the GPT into something, into a database or a system. You then have the ability to actually add in the API schema into that view there and then to test it. And so once you configure an action, you're actually connecting that GPT into another system to help you do something. So apologies, I couldn't show that to you today. but no worries. We'll jump in and we're going to look at the preview window. So the preview window is really where you can start to test Meeting Mate. So let's give this a go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that prompt, help me prepare for an upcoming virtual meeting with a new client based in Japan. So let's see how Meeting Mate responds. So what it is doing right now, it is actually referencing the knowledge, so all of this information here, and it is responding to me. So can you see that it is giving some feedback here around key meeting details to prepare, best practices for virtual meetings, cultural considerations. So really, really helpful information, specifically about how I should engage in this international environment. Now, one thing that I have noticed that you might have picked up on is originally in the instructions, I had asked the GPT to actually ask a series of questions. So I've noticed that the GPT is not doing that. However, it has given me some really helpful information. So it's kind of talking here about kind of how to prep for the meeting. And then it's also pulled in the specific agenda that I would need because we've added that into the knowledge here on the left-hand side. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to create this GPT because I want to show you how it works. Essentially, at this stage, though, for whatever reason, I would need to come back into the instructions and I'd probably need to tweak the instructions. So I don't have time to do that today, but I would need to tweak this order. I'd maybe need to rewrite the instructions and I'd need to keep testing in the preview window to ensure that the response was exactly what I was looking for. This is a really important message from me today. As you've just noticed, and this is a great example, ChatGPT and GPTs don't always do exactly what you want on the first try. Um, this is kind of partly how large language models operate, but this is a really great example that you need to keep working with the GPT. You need to keep refining it, and you need to kind of be aware that there is a certain amount of experimentation and honestly, sometimes some frustrations that you need to work with to really get a valuable output. Now, I'm not going to tweak those instructions today. What's interesting is the GPT I created yesterday to prepare for this, it was working exactly the same. Love that when you're kind of doing a webinar and it doesn't show you exactly what you were hoping for. But anyway, let's move on and let's really jump into this GPT to kind of show you how it works in practice. So I'm going to click Create. And you'll see here that I have the option to share my GPT. So by default, when you click create, the GPT is private to you only, unless you specify otherwise. So I could actually share this with James, who is my colleague. I can click on James and I can click chat or I can click view configuration. So chat allows this specific colleague to just chat with the GPT, but sharing the configuration will allow James to also view this area that we've just been in. Okay, I'm not going to do that this morning. I don't want to give James a notification, but when we click update, that is going to kind of publish the GPT and take us to the GPT. You will notice as well that when you click on invite only, there are some other sharing options available to you. You can share the GPT with anyone at OpenAI Education, which is the workspace that I am currently in. But you can see here that sharing GPT publicly right now is disabled in this specific workspace. So this is a good example that you may not have access to do everything in your environment. For now, we're going to keep the GPT as invite only. Let's update and let's come over to the live GPT so I can show you what it looks like. Now, sometimes this might take a little bit of time, so just bear with it. Okay, that has updated, and we're now going to view the GPT. So similar to professional writing coach that we used earlier, this GPT is now live. So I just want to show you a couple of things. You can see who created the GPT. So this is my demo account and it was created by me. We can see that the GPT is called Meeting Mate. And when I click on the drop down, there are a couple of things that I can do. I can edit the GPT, which when I do that, it takes me back into that configuration screen. So if I wanted to make some changes again, I can do that from that previous view. Going to click the back button, which takes me again into this conversation view. And we can see here that Meeting Mate by default was automatically pinned to my sidebar. If I want to hide it from my sidebar, I can simply click Hide from Sidebar. And then if I wanted to pin it to my sidebar, I can click on the pin icon as well. Okay, what we're going to do is we are going to now engage with Meeting Mate, and we're going to add in a prompt. So I'm going to ask a simple question. I'm going to ask Meeting Mate, do we have a format for structuring meeting agendas? And let's see what we get back. So this is really helpful. GPT is referencing that knowledge that it has access to and providing me with a specific agenda format. So I can take this away, I can add it into a calendar invite to ensure that everyone has a standardized agenda every time I run a meeting. Next prompt I'm going to add in. Do you have any suggestions for researching a client ahead of time so that the meeting is more personalized? Let's see what we get back. Perfect. So we've got some suggestions here around how we would go about gathering these insights. So you can see that I can engage in this GPT. I can ask a bunch of questions about how to prepare for a meeting, and this GPT is really going to guide me through that. Just lastly, to really show you how it works, I'm going to add in a final prompt. Here, I'm going to ask, this specific client prefers in-person meetings. Can you tell me about our international travel policy? Again, the GPT is going to look at that policy in the knowledge and give me some guidance for how I should think about an upcoming trip or traveling for a meeting. Overall, really, really helpful. So I know that it didn't quite read those instructions correctly and tease out the information from me, but we could go back in and tweak that over time. But essentially, Meeting Mate is now a very helpful assistant for allowing me to prepare for a meeting. Okay, so in the last 30 minutes, we've really built a GPT to act as my personal coach to help me prepare for all future meetings. I want to emphasize, as I did in 101, that ChatGPT can make mistakes, and you can see that ChatGPT and GPTs are not perfect. So it's really important that you keep a level of human in the loop here. The human is always guiding the AI. The human is always checking the output of the AI. The human is always responsible for configuring those instructions. So really important that you always verify your GPT's output before sharing it, especially if you are creating a GPT for communications, to ensure that it is accurate and correct. Okay, so really wrapping up today's session, last 5 minutes, I'm going to talk about how you could create your GPT instructions using in o1. So this is a slightly more advanced technique, and instead of manually writing the GPT instructions, you can actually use o1 to generate them for you. Let's use o1 to generate clear step-by-step GPT instructions in Markdown. Now, with o1's really strong reasoning capabilities, it's ideal for this task. So I'm going to demonstrate this by opening a new chat with o1 and walking you through the process. You can see that I already have the chat selected as o1. You come down and you select that model. I'm going to ask O1 to generate a list of questions, so very similar to what the GPT builder does, to help me gather and collect all of the key details for the GPT instructions. It's really important that ahead of time, you really know what it is that you want the GPT to do before you start a conversation with O1. So what I'm going to do here in the prompt is I'm going to ask O1, I'm writing the instructions for a GPT and need some help. Can you ask me a series of questions to help me formulate the best GPT? So the GPT has come back straight away and said that to craft these instructions, we need to understand the purpose and goal, the style and tone, content boundaries, format and length. So you can see that it is asking me to really think deeply about the details of the GPT. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add in, or I'm going to go away and I'm actually going to answer these questions. So this does take a little bit of time, but I can guarantee you that you're going to get some great instructions. So I would go away, I'd copy and paste these questions, I'd think about these questions, and I would provide a written answer. And that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm not going to read this following prompt for you word for word because it is too long. But really, all I've done is I have responded to all of these questions that you're seeing here. I'm going to paste that in. And that's just giving giving O1 detail about what I want the GPT to do. You can see that O1 has come back and has kind of really identified here some follow-up questions. And let's scroll down a little bit further. Yeah, so we're getting some additional questions to answer. So we're really going to go away and kind of respond back to these as well. So I'm just going to add in some more details for O1. Again, not reading this word for word. In your example, just read what O1 is responding and just follow that flow. And you can see that O1 is really filling out this information. It's essentially ensuring that it has everything it needs for these GPT instructions. Okay, so you can go back and forth like this for a while. I'm not going to do that this morning, but what I am going to do is I'm going to add in a prompt. And so this prompt, really important. Using all of the information provided, please create GPT instructions in Markdown. So Markdown is that specific format that we want that goes really well in the GPT instructions. And there we have it. We have the Markdown and all of the instructions that we need for this GPT. So what I can do is I can simply copy and paste this and drop it directly into my GPT. And then I can start to mess around in the preview window to test it. And so really great hack from us. If you're still stuck on GPT instruction writing, or you want to make this process super quick, engage in a conversation with O1, ask O1 to ask you a series of questions, specifically about what you want the GPT to do. Fill out those questions, answer those questions, and then you're going to get this really amazing set of Markdown instructions. Perfect. Okay, so that really brings us to the end of today's session. Again, I hope it was helpful. I hope you learned a lot today. And really just to recap, we have covered projects, specifically what they are, how to create one, and why they're useful. We've looked at GPTs, so how to use one, and specifically how to build one. And then I've just shown you a quick hack, which is using O1, which is our reasoning model to help you create the instructions in Markdown. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. Would really appreciate it if you could fill out a quick survey. Otherwise, thank you so much and get chatting with ChatGPT.